Hey, this is Edwin Dearborn, another edition of Growth Driven, and I'm with an amazing content creator, a financial professional, and a fellow author, Martin Matthews. And we're going to talk about everything about finances and how he's growing his brand. Hey, Martin. I am so glad that you were on Growth Driven with me. How you doing?
Doing great, Edwin. Good to be on here with you.
Yeah, you too. So this is actually the first time we've talked in person or via electronic in person.
Yeah.
But I've been watching you and your wife put out a boatload of content. You're very active on social media.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that you speak to many people, educating them about not only what you do, but kind of, if you will, kind of removing the false concepts about insurance.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get into those topics, you have an extremely interesting story of how you came to the United States. And I'd like you to speak to that, like how you came here and what you found out and kind of your journey in America.
Sure. Well, I was born in a tiny country in West Africa called Liberia. And Liberia was founded by freed slaves. So you had people who were, they got freed as slaves or they didn't want to live in America anymore. They decided to return back to Africa. And unfortunately for those people, they didn't have exact cultural roots. So they landed in West Africa and they met some indigenous Africans and they kind of grouped together and ended up forming this country called Liberia. At one time, it was the only independent nation in Africa, declared independence in 1847. So that's the little country I was born in. It's had a lot of turmoil in the late 80s to early 90s. When I was a young child growing up in Liberia, there was a civil war, all these different things happening in Liberia. And I really got a chance to see poverty at a very deep level. My father was a major political figure in the country. He's credited as being the father of multi-party democracy. Liberia had one political party for over 100 years. And so he was a guy in the 60s that went 60s and 70s that went back to Liberia and said, hey, let's have a competition of ideas. So I had a chance to watch him be this public figure. Because he was a public figure and because we had a lot of poverty in Liberia, people would come to our house every day to ask my father for money. And it would be like, hey, I need shoes, I need clothes, somebody's sick, somebody just passed away, we need help with the funeral. Everything you can think about, people would show up every day to ask for money. And so I learned at a young age that money was very important to people. And that a lot of people didn't have much of it. Seemed like it was important to them, but they didn't have a lot of it. So I would sometimes watch movies and I would see everybody in America seem like they were rich. Seemed like these people were rich, they were happy, and I said, I need to get to America because if I can get to America and I can become rich like those people in the movies, and then I can
be happy.
Yeah. And what was driving me was really wanting to help people. And it wasn't even so much about the happiness part. It was they seemed rich and happy. And I thought the people who came to our house every day they were struggling. They came because they had this immediate problem. But so I really wanted to come to America. So after, I survived a civil war in Liberia and West Africa. And then I finally was able to get to America here. And, America became my second home, after Liberia.
Okay, great. You came to America, the land of the rich and happy.
Yeah.
And so you get here, and then what happens? How'd you move from new guy in America to financial services and financial planner?
Well, I came here and then I got the rude awakening that most people in America are not rich. I would ask for advice. And I'll say, man, you look like you must be rich. And they will tell me, no, Martin, I'm not rich. And so I would read books and I would get a lot of information that didn't seem to add up. I just couldn't find the information I was looking for. And then over a decade ago, I ran into a financial professional. And just, seemingly by accident, he and I started talking. He was a guy who had been to Africa before, so we started talking about where we were from. And when he told me what he did, I said, "Hey, do you know any rich people? Because I've been looking for rich people and I can't seem to find them. Do you know any rich people?" And he said, "Yeah, I know some rich people." And I said, "What do they do with their money? How do they make it? Where do they put it? What do they do? I want to learn that." And so I said, because I want to be rich because I want to help people in Africa. And so that was the driving factor, was driving to help people. And so this guy said, he taught me some things, some very smart things about money in one conversation. And at the end of that conversation, I said, "How can I do what you're doing? What you do as a career is very fascinating to me. I want to do that." And he became my first mentor. And that's how I got my start in the financial industry. It was really driven by helping people from what I saw as a kid. It was one of the earliest memories as a child was people coming to my house to ask my father for money. Money was important to them and they didn't seem to have it. I come to America thinking everybody's got money. Same thing here. Money's important to people, but a lot of them don't seem to have it. So how do we solve that issue? And it happens through financial literacy and certain actions that you can take to get into better conditions.
That's great. Question for you. I know a lot of people throw around the term financial literacy
Mm-hmm.
as if we know what that means. It's sort of like, oh, well, they're just financially illiterate, yet the term financial literacy is itself a misunderstood concept or term.
Mm-hmm.
To you, how do you define financial literacy?
Well, let's equate it to something that we may have more reality on. Just the word literacy, being knowledgeable about reading, writing, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So if in today's world you were illiterate, meaning you could not read and you could not write, it would be very hard for you to navigate life. You couldn't get online and maybe go and put in an application for a job. Maybe you didn't know how to use that device, things
Right.
like that. There are, in my country where I came from, at one point we had a 70% illiteracy rate, which means people could not read or write at a comprehensible level. So they couldn't navigate life. They couldn't read signs. They couldn't read books to educate themselves. They could not read the dictionary, for example, to understand what words meant. Now, if you take that same logic and apply it to finances, what happens is when someone is financially illiterate, it means that there's financial concepts that they don't understand, and they may not know how to understand that concept. So, for example, the financial industry uses a lot of words that people don't know what those words mean.
Absolutely.
there's people, and some of those words are not found in the common dictionary, because they're words created for that particular industry. So you'd have to, one, realize that you need to look up that word and then go and really understand what that word means. So, and where the phrase financial literacy and all that came from is they gave people a test, a quiz of 5 questions of basic financial concepts.
Mm-hmm.
And most people failed this little quiz. And so that was where they determined that, okay, people didn't understand, how do I earn interest? How does this thing work? And how does that basic things about finances that people didn't seem to understand. And that's where they were told, hey, you're financially illiterate because of that.
I see. Now, when obviously you and your wife do this full time, right?
Mm-hmm.
This, and you've written a book,
yeah,
about couples and bringing them together so they don't fight. I forgot the title of your book. Could you tell people the title of your book? Show it to us.
Yeah, it's called Let's Fight About Money.
Oh yeah, that's very real to people. I can attest to that. Yeah, having been married and divorced twice, I will attest that yes, couples fight about money, and I'm sure that I believe one time I was reading a study like it's the number one cause of divorce.
Yeah, it's one of the top factors. There's some debate if infidelity is the number one cause, but it is definitely the number one cause of fights, number one cause of arguments in a marriage or any relationship that's like a couple relationship is on the subject of money.
Great. So you address that, and obviously your book is there to educate couples, and they start to establish agreements. I think is probably the key thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what we've got to come to terms on where our money is going to go. How do we spend it? How much do I get? How much do you get? Is that correct?
Yes. So first of all, the title "Let's Fight About Money" is a ridiculous title. It's a great title, but it's ridiculous because everybody tells you don't fight about money. And the book says, let's fight about money.
So you go the other way.
Yeah, but the reason we titled it that is because we wanted to make you laugh a little bit because of the ridiculousness of the title. And you have the gloves on there, and you have these different views on money. But really what we're trying to get people to do is confront what is happening in their relationship. So we talk in our book, we talk about different money personalities. And what that relates to is how a person handles money. For example, I grew up with a money personality of a spender. So when I got money, I would spend it. I like to spend it. I like to buy stuff and things like that. And it's because around me, that's the information I got, and that's the things that I saw. I saw people spending money, and that's the information I got about money. My wife grew up to become a saver. Now, she was a saver because she was afraid of being unable to get new money. So she was always fearful. That's the information that she got about money was hard to get. And so when you get it, you need to hold on to it really tightly. And so she would be a saver. So now we get into a relationship. I, at the time, spender. Wife is a saver. Well, guess what? You have a conflict.
Hence the boxing gloves.
And the boxing gloves. So our book talks about, first of all, having awareness, being aware that, what's my money personality? How do I deal with and handle money? Where does that come from? Okay. And then she looks at, okay, how does she deal with and handle money? Where does that come from? And then once we have that understanding, we can come together and say, okay, we can own it and say, well, I tend to deal with money as a spender. And she can say, I tend to deal with money as a saver. Now, how do we create rules and kind of standard ways of handling our finances so that this doesn't become a problem? It doesn't become a fight, right? And how do we communicate with each other? How do we communicate with each other so that we can understand each other better and fight for each other, fight for our family, fight for success and more survival? And so that's really what the book's about. It says how to communicate about money, handle conflict, and build an unbreakable financial house. When you can get on the same page, then you can build together from that point of view.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And to kind of recap what you're saying is, instead of fighting against each other, let's fight for each other.
Yeah.
And if you can fight for each other successfully regarding the money, all of a sudden the saver and the spender can be a little bit more satisfied.
Yes, exactly.
At least they're on agreement. Okay, so now you go out, obviously, through social media and probably networking and referrals and things like that, helping couples to kind of come to that point. When you get a couple and they kind of, okay, we're going to finally get our what together and get our finances moving, what's kind of like the first hurdle that brings the first aha moment in couples? Like when they go, oh, wow. What's that moment?
It's the money personalities. They've never really thought about how that affects them or where that comes from. So money itself can be a very confusing subject for a lot of people. So a lot of times we have bad information about money. And we don't often know where it comes from. Or where specifically it comes from. Sometimes it comes from a parent, and sometimes it comes from just general in society. I remember exactly when I looked at it, I remember exactly where the information comes from about spending money. Someone said when I was a kid, someone and my father was having a conversation, and this person said, money's made to be spent. And I said, oh, my father never corrected that data. It didn't say spent on what, or how was it supposed to be spent, or was all supposed to be spent? No, I just heard money's made to be spent. And so as a child, I realized, oh, maybe that's the truth. So if money's made to be spent, guess what? I get money, I spent it all. That's how I operated. And then because I did that, I started to make financial mistakes. I would get behind on certain things financially. And I realized this information is not helping me. This money's made to be spent information, but I didn't know that that's the information I was operating with. So the biggest aha that people get is where them looking at where does your information about money come from? What's the source of that? What did you see? And then what did you accept to be true for you based on that you haven't really looked at yet? Once you look at it, you can decide, hey, is that still true? Or, is that not true? So for me, in looking at this, I realize, hey, money's not just made to be spent. It's made to be used for something. It made to be used to expand, to grow, to create experiences, to help other people, to help my church, all these different things. I then redefined how I use money versus just spending money wherever.
I get it. So you're purging the old, and then they're establishing an actual purpose and, if you will, kind of a management plan of how that money goes out to fulfill those purposes.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, great. So now, so let's say you get the couple, they've had that aha moment. Tell me, how do you begin to move a couple from wherever they're at, which is, I'm sure, many layers, to where they really want to start going? Like, what are some two or three or four fundamentals that you really have to put in place for them to move forward?
Well, we call it your financial house.
Okay.
And your financial house has 6 areas, 6 components. This is universal to all of us. We all have these, whether we realize them or not, is what I've found. And how well we handle them determines if we're successful in doing the things that we would like to do. So I'll give them to you really quickly. I won't spend too much time breaking on each one, but I'll give it to you really quickly. We'll call it 6 building blocks to an unbreakable financial house. Okay. So we take something that's a big topic and we break it down into chunks, a little steps that which you can easily confront. So there's cash flow, there's debt management, there's reserves, there's proper protection. Those are like, how do I protect myself with life insurance and things like that. Okay. There's build wealth and build legacy. Those 6 areas are common to all of us, whether we're operating or using them or not. We all need cash flow to come in and out of our household in order to handle all the things we want to do. And then we need to understand how debt works, right? Am I using debt properly? Is there a good debt, bad debt? How am I doing it? And then reserves, do I have enough reserves? Proper protection, am I properly protected? And then build wealth. What's my game plan to build wealth? That's a lot can go into that category because you can use many different vehicles and different things to build wealth, but at least having a plan or a general plan. And then build legacy. What is my legacy going to be? Besides just money, how do I want to help the planet? How do I want to help people? And how can I use the resources I have to do that? So once you start to look at, we can build an unbreakable financial house, meaning our financial house is solid, that no changes in the economy could destroy. We build it in such a strong way that it can withstand all kinds of things happening in our world. Then we're building something strong to get this and handling each one to the best of our abilities at the time.
Yeah, it's you bring up a really good point that reminds me of something. I was looking up the word economics, and the derivation of economics is Greek, meaning how to manage a household. Mm-hmm. And you brought up, like, if the house is solid, it doesn't matter what's happening around.
Yes.
And, recently, 2020, mm-hmm. We obviously had an interesting year. A lot of houses kind of fell down financially because they didn't really have those things set, and it's very easy to blame the economy. When people come to you, what's usually the biggest weakness that they have to not be able to withstand crazy years like 2020?
There's 2 big areas. They're lacking in reserves, mm-hmm. and proper protection, meaning having the right kinds and right amounts of insurance, like life insurance, things like that. And these are some of their biggest threats, because if you lose your job or lose your revenue source, but you have sufficient reserves, you can withstand that happening. Also, if you become sick, let's say a person, develops cancer, has a stroke, heart attack, and now they can't go back to work, they can have certain types of life insurance policy actually fund their living expenses while they're still alive. So that can help handle that sort of thing. So most of the time they aren't looking at these different threats that could come their way. Obviously, the biggest thing a person wants to continue to handle and grow and expand is their cash flow, because it like takes care of all the other pieces.
Of
But
course.
having those protections in place while you're building the cash flow is extremely vital. That's where I see a lot of people have a lot of the gaps. They're not properly protected, so they have gaps in there, and they don't have sufficient reserves to be able to handle things happening.
Yeah. And you brought up the point of, like, if you get sick or get cancer, it'll pay for, the insurance will pay for to keep going. I think a lot of people out there think that life insurance only pays out when one passes, but in actual fact, having worked with professionals in life insurance and financial services, there actually are products out there that, if God forbid something bad was to happen to you, there could be a layer of protection versus now we don't have any money and we got to set up a GoFundMe account.
Yes, exactly. There's a guy named Dave. He's shared his story a million times, so he's done a video on this, so he gives us permission to share this. But
yeah,
Dave suffered 2 heart attacks. He survived. Nowadays, the heart attack doesn't take you out.
yeah, right.
Your body can still survive a heart attack, a stroke, lots of things. And so Dave's a farmer, survives 2 heart attacks. But the impact on him financially is severe. The farm's not producing as much as it needed to. Dave has smaller kids. And so he had a life insurance policy that has a feature that pays you money while you're still living if you got critically or chronically sick. So heart attack qualifies as a critical illness. So Dave was able to get $272,000 check. Bam. Tax-free to him, because life insurance policies allow you to access money that way on a tax-free basis, because it's tax advantage, because the government wants you to take care of your family. Right. So Dave took care of his family. The reward for that was the government will not tax that money to him. So he got $272,000 tax-free. Use that money to be able to save his farm, keep things going, hire somebody to help manage and run things until he could get back on his feet. So he's recovered now and he's back. Things are getting back to normal as much as they can. But that was the big difference between this person losing their farm, losing their livelihood, the lifestyle their family had become accustomed to, or being able to weather that storm and then get back to normal, recover, get back, and then expand from there, because now you didn't go backwards during that situation.
Great. That's very helpful. So you take those 6 building blocks, you get obviously the couples to get on the same page, gain agreement, and then kind of start working out a plan of attack of how to rectify those and start building an ideal financial scene.
Yes.
On the business side, so now you obviously, you and your wife are self-employed, and you're out there, hustling. I see you guys creating a lot of content, which I'm a strong advocate of, hence this show and a lot of other things that I've done, write books. What for you, just now on the business side, to be able to reach more and more people, to sell people more products, what has been the most successful way that you and your wife have grown your brand?
Well, we've done a lot of videos. Educational videos are very helpful to people. We have an agency here. We're based in Georgia. We have clients in 42 different states. So we have a team of agents. We're kind of a lot of the agents don't do videos themselves, but we do the videos as kind of the main people leading our agency. So we'll do educational videos. We'll do things like that. And we spread our message through social media. We use ads to have our message reach more people. We write articles in different media platforms to get our message out. The outflow of our messaging and communication is extremely vital to our success. So every week we track how many people are reaching on social media, how many people are reaching back for our products and services, how many people find us in different places. And one thing we actually did recently is we just completed last week, we did a financial literacy challenge. And we did a financial literacy challenge, and we decided we would give winners $5,000 cash. Now, first of all, we're going to give it to one winner. We're going to pick somebody who goes through, and the challenge was all free. They didn't have to pay for anything. You sign up. It was 7 days straight, about an hour to an hour and a half every day. We taught you about one of those building blocks. Day one, we talked about cash flow. Day two, we talked about debt management, everything. And then you had a little homework. So people, we did it in a group. People would do their homework and post it in the group. And, people were having a lot of fun. People showed up. Some of these people had never heard of us before. And so we decided, when we started a challenge, and then we gave away daily cash prizes. If you did your homework and you did well on your homework, you got a cash prize. So those were things that we did. And when we asked people, hey, should we have this be one $5,000 winner, a $1,000 winner? Most people said, I think everybody said, we should have 5 $1,000 winner, because everybody had an opportunity to win.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I increased my chances by 5 times.
So we're very happy about that. What happened is the successes as day one and day two went on, people started inviting other people into the group. So the size of the group basically doubled as this went on. And so people were very happy and excited, and they were learning about things they never thought about before. People were telling their spouse, hey, you have to get on there with me. And all these kinds of different things were happening. So that's been one of our successful actions, is we want more people to know us. And so our videos help people to know us, but our financial literacy challenge, where we teach people these things and teach them for free, that's been very helpful in getting more people to know us and getting more people to start taking more actions on their finances.
That's awesome. Hey, if you could do me a favor, Martin, in the private chat, why don't you give your contact information and our website, whatever you're willing to promote. I'll put it on the banner here so that people can reach out to you. If you guys are just joining in, I'm with Martin Matthews, credible story of coming from Africa, looking for the American dream, found out that the dream isn't guaranteed in America, but he built it anyways. And now he runs an agency helping others get that. Good. Let me just copy and paste that, and I'm going to put it in one of my banners here.
And I also included our general email that somebody could use as well.
Okay, great. I'll add that in just a second. So if you go to Martin and Chelsea, and it's CHELSEA.com, martinandchelsea.com, for those that are listening on the podcast later on. And then also, Martin, I will add this link in the YouTube video, because this gets uploaded to YouTube, and then I put a thumbnail and optimize it and all that, so that if they want to reach out to you, they can do that as well. And then I'm going to also, now that I got that going on there, let me put your email address here. So you operate in 42 states. So you're obviously licensed to sell insurance products and all that other stuff in those 42 states. I take it most of your business is in Georgia? Is that correct?
No, I think maybe 95% of my business is outside of Georgia.
Really? Okay. Yeah. So because you got the network of agents.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, good. And are you recruiting agents? Is this like, if somebody wanted to do what you're doing, is this something they could contact you and find opportunity, or is it?
They can. I have a process of where we qualify people to work with us. Typically right now, the people we're looking for generally have some experience in the financial industry. They're already licensed. Maybe they're unhappy with where they're at. They don't get support, or the company they're with isn't using 21st century marketing strategies like media to expand their business. So we're able to show them how to do that. I have a whole process where we teach people how to leverage social media. And we use it very effectively. We really started using it in 2017, and it's been a big help to our business. A few years ago, we're only in 5 states with my business. And when we got on social media, people started to find us in all kinds of places. And because they would see my wife and I, and they would see us with my family and things like that, they felt like they would know us. So we often survey people and ask them, hey, you're in a different state. as people tell us, hey, there's a guy down the street from where I live, and I know he does something similar to what you do, but I can relate to you guys more because I can see your family. So because we're on social media, they actually know me better than the guy down the street.
Isn't that crazy? And I love that you're bringing that point up. I think it's so critical. If you're a brand, at least if you think you're a brand, but you're not putting out content, you're not leveraging the branding opportunity that social media can do. And so you and your wife, I'm sure in the beginning felt a little awkward getting in front of a camera, or was it easy for you?
Oh no, it was a little bit weird. My first Facebook Live was upside down. I was like, I'm upside down. How do I do the sideways?
I've been there. Yeah. Okay.
So it was all a learning curve. We didn't know exactly what would work. We realized that if we just got out there and started communicating with people, and so it would help us. And so we started communicating with people. And then in 2017, we actually every morning we would do a live morning show where we would talk about personal and financial development. The couples thing is just really a small part of what we do, because we always tell people we're not couples counselors, we're financial advisors, we're licensed financial advisors. We just happen to be a couple that are in business together, and people would ask us all the time, how do we work together successfully? And so we decided all those things. We decided, let's write a book and put it in a book, and that way a person can have it and read through it. But we would talk about personal development and financial development. How do you grow yourself? How do you improve and get better? And then how do you also grow and improve and get better in your finances and in your business? Because we consult with businesses as well. So all of those things were things we started doing, and we started talking about that on social media. And that was very helpful for us in terms of growing our business.
Now, I personally think that there's a simple brilliance in how you did it together, because instead of saying theoretically how it could work, I think you two set the example. And they could see the example and kind of went, man, if we could get some of that magic sprinkled on us of how they get along, because they're both talking about it and they're not arguing. So they're a living, breathing example of what they're espousing in their books.
Yeah.
Right.
We're very transparent with people. We talk about it all the time. We talk about conflicts that we've had in the past and how we're able to handle them so that people can learn from that. So,
yeah, I think that's vital. I think that to me, if a couple's going to reach out about their problems, you can feel very vulnerable as a couple. Like, we don't want to share that with the world. But then they see another couple talking about it, sharing their trials and tribulations. It's like, okay, I can immediately see, let's reach out to them. They've obviously mastered the drill.
Yeah.
They'll understand us. And I think going forward, I think that's going to be your secret sauce, is to continue, you and your wife, to put out the content together. I mean, that's how I know you, because remember I emailed you before we went on, and I said, is your wife going to join you? I just kind of, I just assumed that was a package deal,
Yeah. And most of the time she is. It just worked out. There was a timing conflict, and I could just be on. But if you love to have us back, we'd love to come on and where both of us talk, because she has, I married her because she has a great energy about her. And I really liked her energy and the way she communicates a lot of different things. And so she has a great touch to me. She adds so much to my life. So what we just show is us doing things together, and we show our real lives. And that's what we thought people would want to see in a financial professional. So you go to a financial advisor office and he's there in a suit and tie, and you really don't. And I don't know, it doesn't really seem like from the traditional view, like you're in there joking so much or laughing. You're there to talk about serious financial business, and then it becomes such a serious thing. And so we have a lot of fun with people. And I think that because there's both of us there, it helps to make it fun and interesting. So when we did the challenge, both of us did the challenge together. teaching it. So she would teach some parts and I'll teach different parts. And we're both licensed. Financial advisors. We have different tiers of licensing and things like that. So that balances us out.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great example that you guys set, because like I said before, I know that there's a lot of couples out there that look at the content you're putting out and they can just tell by the vibe that you've figured out how to navigate this thing that they are arguing about.
Yeah.
And they're going to go, well, if we're going to have something like them, maybe we should go to them versus the guy in the pinstripe suit down the street.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me, what future going forward, next 3, 4, 5 years, where do you see you and your wife taking the brand and going forward to reach out and help more families?
Well, we are in the next few years. We're going to be in all 50 states with our business. Probably in 2021, we'll achieve that. We're only 8 states away. Some states are a little bit harder that I may not like to do business in so much. I may want to do it just to be in all
New York.
And I thought about pulling out of New York, but I decided I would give it another. You renew your licenses and they're good for another couple of years, and I thought I would give it another few years and see what it does there. Just harder to do business there with some places, and but I think we'll expand it into all 50 states. We do a lot of things with the financial business is one business that we have.
Okay.
We like a lot of real estate. And so what I've done is create surplus in the financial business so that I can be able to do more things in real estate. And so one of the things I really liked, the type of real estate I like, is assisted living. For a long time, in Africa, your grandparents come and live in the home. Mm-hmm. So you always got a chance to see grandparents, great grandparents being cared for, things like that. So I always thought, and I would always learn from them. I would always spend time with elderly people when I was a kid. I found them very interesting and would teach me all these different life lessons. So I figured that I could learn a lot from them because they had a lot of years of experience. And so when I came to America and I found that a lot of elderly people were in many ways lonely because the kids moved and they couldn't be around family all the time. I thought, well, this is something an industry I would like to get into or be a part of. But my main thing was trying to do financial stuff. So as I've created a certain level of success in the financial industry, I think now it's a good time to be able to add this other piece to what we're doing, because a lot of financial products we do can help you throughout life. There's financial products that are life insurance, for example, can double as long-term care. Somebody could buy a life insurance policy, go into get into a long-term care situation, and now they actually have the resources to pay for a quality care home, whether it's a home that looks like a normal home,
right,
or it just provides care. We want to use technology to be able to help people stay in touch, even if your kids or grandkids live in different cities. How do we keep in touch with them? How do we make sure that bond is still there? All of those kinds of things we want to be able to do. So over the next few years, that's what we'll be doing. We'll be drastically expanding our financial services industry. One of my main goals of this financial services industry is to get it to $100 million a year business. And 2 or 3 years, I don't know. I think we could hit about half of that in about 2 or 3 years, and then see how long it takes to get to the other parts. But I'll be building the financial business and expanding it, and then really having some of my key people run that business. And I really am also excited about the assisted living part of our portfolio that we'd like to grow and expand. And it's new. It'd be we've kind of put an initial team together on the assisted living side, and we started looking for properties and things like that. So we're making some progress on that end. But I think that could really be a really big business. I think that could really be a much bigger business than my financial business is. So that's, and I think it'll be fun to do.
No. I think I agree. I'm with you. The same. I'm going to be making the same moves, which is as more and more income comes in, where do I put it in to the portfolio? And real estate, assisted living, like I mean, I looked at that a little bit. I think that's going to be a great model because, as you know, the biggest transfer of wealth, we've got so many baby boomers there, that is going to be needed as a resource.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Martin, I've loved having you on the show. You're an amazing guest. And yes, I want to have you back. Next time we'll have your wife. And I really want to kind of speak to next time, kind of like how you guys built your brand as a couple. I think that there's probably other couples out there that would like to build a brand together.
Yeah.
And kind of like, and maybe we could talk to like how you guys navigated that, create content together, how you strategize your content, distribute your content. Because I think there's some couples out there go, man, if I could work with my spouse and get along with them at the same time and make money, that would be the best of both worlds, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And by the example you guys set, you guys are doing an amazing job at that. So congratulations on really bringing that together as a success.
Thank you. And thanks for having me on here. We'd love to come back. But one thing I will say to you is this podcast, I've seen a few different episodes, and you have a lot of great guests on. And some of them are people I may have never met or interacted with or seen or known about, except through your podcast that you've been doing. And so I've gone through and I've looked at some of them, and you've had some very interesting guests, very smart people. And I think what you're doing in terms of helping people in different ways, from marketing to all the other things that you're doing, and helping them really grow, I think is such a great thing to be able to help people to flourish and prosper in life. Because we're doing some activities and we're really wanting to expand and do better, and so we can ultimately help others. So I think what you're doing is great, and I want to commend you for that. And once again, thank you for having me on here. So that's awesome.
Thanks for the acknowledgement. Yeah, we're gonna champion on, and you do what you do to help people. I do this to, for me, what it was is I was very upset seeing all these businesses close down over the last 6-8 months.
Mm-hmm.
Just hearing the news, and yeah, COVID, that's a tragedy. But to me, this is my opinion, the bigger tragedy was the tens of millions of people that will never die, but were losing their jobs and losing their businesses that have been around for 3-4 generations. And I thought, I got to do something, bring these experts, and somehow maybe inspire people to rebuild their lives or get better at business. And that would be my way of somehow giving back instead of just sitting and watching the news and getting upset.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, Martin, we're going to be bidding out here real soon. Again, thank you so much. Congratulations. Hey, guys, if you are looking to get your what together about your finances, reach out to Martin and his wife. I know that they'll take care of you, and they'll put you on track to having a great strength in your financial house. There's been another edition of Growth Driven. We'll talk to you again soon.